All right, this is Eric Bechtold, and welcome to the Manifesting Dreams podcast. Today we have Eric Allen, who's been a longtime friend of mine. Excited to welcome him to the podcast today. He is a former teacher and basketball coach who is now on a mission to transform lives, and he's doing it through a very unique way, through purpose-driven vacations and social justice-focused trips. So without any further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Eric Allen. Welcome, buddy.
Eric, what's up, brother? Finally, here we are together at last.
That's right. I know we've been talking about for years working together on something, and through FollowFunding, we've aligned, and just excited to have you here. So let's dive right in. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Just give your little introduction, and we'll get right to it.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm excited to be on here and appreciate you, man. They say people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And gosh, what's it been, almost a decade ago, we first connected and hit it off and just maintain that mutual respect and friendship, man. And just thinking, man, someday our dreams are going to intersect and we're going to do something big together. And here we are. So definitely excited. Pleasure to be on here. And thanks everyone who's jumped on and listened real quick. Yeah, about me, I mean, as you kind of mentioned, I was chasing my dream of being a college basketball coach. I'd been an inner city high school teacher and coach before that, and pursuing what I thought was a dream. Really enjoyed it, but just started consuming all of my life, and somehow found this beautiful blonde who would not only tolerate me, but even marry me and start bearing children. So the challenge was I was literally working over 100 hours a week, and the same story I'm sure you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs. I chasing one dream that was kind of turned into a nightmare in some ways, just because I was missing out on some of the other priorities, and certainly my kids growing up, and just being kind of in the moment with the people I care about most. So I just hit a pretty dark place and just started looking and truly getting on my knees and praying for something, and something that would really just allow me to get my time back. Man, I was financially broken, spiritually broken, all these things we hear about, but I was really living that and not in a good place. And that thus began my entrepreneurial journey where our lives intersected, Eric, and kind of got everything that I really thought I wanted at one point. You know, outside looking in, had a lot of material success and a lot of the American dream, so to speak, that so many of us are chasing, and definitely grateful for a lot of that. But then as I started using a lot of the time freedom and other luxuries I had to deepen my faith and grow, I realized, man, the next chapter of my life needs to be so much bigger and be more about helping others and truly leaving a legacy that, you know, we can be proud of. So here we are, man. It's kind of like your dream, my dreams, they've intersected, and just excited to partner up and really truly do some good in the world, not just talk about it, not just give it lip service, but really help people to unlock the dreams and goals in their hearts. And for a lot of people, that does involve, you know, serving and helping others. I've kind of found that the best way to help yourself is to get out and serve others. And in my belief, that's what we're created to do, man. That's why it just feels good when you help somebody else, because that's what we're designed to do. And kind of living in times where social media and others are trying to rip us apart. And yet, you know, there's a lot of people out there who really, I think, are wanting to come together and really mobilize, galvanize, and get out and make this world a better place. So I'm excited, buddy, as you can tell.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it is our visions here are totally in line. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about doing here at FollowFunding, helping people basically manifest their dreams, causes, and inventions. And that's what it's all about. Now, you mentioned one word I want to go back and focus on. You were talking about legacy a moment ago. And I know personally, I know your story, but I know our listeners would love to hear how that legacy idea has transformed in your life over time. Because, I mean, that's something that's been driving you since you started. But how has that kind of changed as you've started to focus on Global Gamechangers?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you asked that, because, you know, for the last 5-10 years, I've been really fortunate to, you know, take the stages of the world in front of, you know, thousands of people at a time. And I would often throw around this word legacy, you know, leave a legacy we can be proud of. And that's evolved over time. It's easy to throw that word around lightly. And sometimes we think of, yes, leave an inheritance for your children, leave a working example of how you hope others will follow in, and, let your actions reflect who you are. And there's certainly a lot of truth to that. But as I've grown here, like I said, working on myself, continuous process, and in my faith journey, the word legacy really, it's become a bit deeper. And as I peeled back the layers, at this point in my life, and as I talk about leaving a legacy, it's, leaving a lasting impact, not only on my kids, but people that know me and through others that, wow, this guy, these people, this movement, just crazy enough to think that they could really use the power of connections, contributions, to make the world a better place, to really, make a difference. And we're living in times, Eric, where, there's a heightened degree of skepticism. The access to information is everywhere. And, people are losing a little faith in, the 1.5 million registered charities in America, certainly our political figureheads, even the churches and other charitable giving organizations. And I think more people are becoming more consciously aware that, hey, like so many things throughout human history, it's going to take like-minded people coming together and saying, enough is enough. There shouldn't be children starving and dying every single day. There shouldn't be illiteracy running rampant through parts of the world, and infectious and poverty-related diseases, and sex trafficking. And again, not here to depress you. It's just, I think people are waking up to the fact that, man, in this day and age, that doesn't have to happen, at least not on the scale that it continues to persist today. So when I talk about legacy, it's like, you know what? We're going to get out here. We're going to alleviate and eradicate a lot of these tragedies and injustices that persist. And that crosses cultural lines, geographic lines, and it's just people who have a heart to serve. Again, I feel most of us are created in that fashion to just work together and say, hey, let's have an abundance mentality. Let's get out there and make some real changes in our world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome stuff. And I know you said early on, you said that you were kind of spiritually broken. You were in this point where you hit kind of, even though you were you had success from the outside looking in, wow, this guy's got everything. But you got to a point where you didn't feel that your actions were in line with your mission. Would you say that's true? Did you feel, is that really what made that spiritual break, kind of that feeling of, I'm not clear with my direction and this isn't going in the right direction? Did you feel that?
Yeah, I guess I felt like I always try to be a good person, live by the golden rule, so to speak. But really, kind of looking at, what is God calling you to do for the next chapter of your life? Okay, is this it? You can, and having a lot of money is great. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with, having money. It just makes you more of who you are. To me, it was the life lessons, the experiences, that journey from building up, large sales teams, over 1 million people in our last company, and taking the good, the bad, the ugly from that entrepreneurial journey, as we can all relate to, and saying, why have I gone through that? Is it just to lead a comfortable life? Because truthfully, I was leading a pretty comfortable life. And, my belief is that, we're not called to be comfortable. We're called to be faithful. And for me personally, I didn't want to meet our maker and say, hey man, Eric, you tried to do good, but I just called you for so much more. And I'll tell you, man, Eric, when you, put others before you and kind of hold true to, these dreams that you feel you're called to do, it can be really liberating. It can be scary for a lot of people. A lot of people think you're crazy, but man, when you're living your life's purpose and you get set on fire, it's just an unbelievable feeling. And I've never felt in more alignment than where I am right now, and just excited to take this movement to a whole new level collaboratively with FollowFunding.
Oh, absolutely. And I know what you're talking about too, because I kind of got to that same point in my career where I was doing the same things over and over again. And it was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. Oh man, I'm going to do this again. Versus once you're in line with purpose and you know what it is you want to do. And those of you listening, your purpose could be any number of things, but you're really in line with your purpose when you not only get excited about it, but you spring out of bed in the morning and you're like, I'm ready to do this. I'm doing what I should be doing. And that's what, that's exactly what's happening to you. You've found what you want to do. Not only are you further down the road than most people probably listening because you're already engaged and already doing some things, but I'm just excited that you have really connected with what you should be doing and are really not only just having the idea, but taking the actions to manifest that idea. And this is the Manifesting Dreams podcast. So that's what it's all about, right? So let's talk about your mission, the mission of your dream here at Follow Funding. And just for you guys listening, you can see Eric's dreamscape at followfunding.com/Global Gamechangers. So tell everybody about the mission of Global Gamechangers and what it is you're doing here.
Absolutely, brother. So the Global Gamechangers movement, it's really just all about bringing like-minded people together, people who have a heart to serve, who feel they should be contributing more, okay, or want to find a way to help more people in a genuine platform that is synonymous with trust, transparency, transformation. That's what Global Gamechangers is all about. And what we do, the mission simply is to get out and alleviate and eradicate a lot of the tragedies and injustices in the world. And we have four main pillars right now that we're focusing on initially. One is child poverty and malnutrition. Okay, every single day, Eric, thousands of kids are going to die from poverty-related disease and illnesses. Thousands. Think about that. So, last stat I saw was over 5,000 throughout the world. The next vertical is illiteracy. And we know throughout human history what happens when people can't read for themselves and be able to think for themselves from the knowledge they have access to. Okay. Third one is child trafficking, sex trafficking, not even just children, all walks of life. It's actually, some statistics say it's never been bigger than what it is now. Think about that. And that's both on a local scale and communities right here in the United States and certainly throughout the world. And that evil continues to persist. And then the fourth vertical is a more proactive approach in terms of microfinance lending, where we go and empower entrepreneurial people in their parts of the world, create prosperity for not only their families, but other people in their communities as well. So those are our four main verticals. And, the way we do this is we simply just partner with strongly vetted, proven organizations and tell them, look, we not only have the financial capital we want to give to you, but we have the human capital, and we're sending people out into the world, both locally and globally, to see those dollars in action, to be accountable and good stewards firsthand to our generosity. And it's amazing when you take people out of their four walls that they're used to, the proverbial walls, and put them in an environment where they can serve, or they can at least see the good works that are happening through that generosity. It is a life-changing experience. I've seen this happen over and over and over and over. And, obviously it happened to me. And, again, that's doing good both locally in your neighborhoods and then going to other, perhaps second, third world countries. You just get a greater perspective. And, that's what it's about, man, just creating that strong emotional connection. And we've just found 100% of the time people, hearts get changed forever. They come back, they get on fire for this idea of service. And it just helps to enhance kind of an attitude of gratitude. Certainly living in America here, not that it's always easy, but we have so many blessings that I know I take for granted. Even when I just got back from Africa a month and a half ago, and here I am at Starbucks, buying a $4 Starbucks. That's the average wage that a lot of the rural community members that we visited and built a transformational basketball court made in an entire month. And like the service is slow. It's like, man, where's my Starbucks? It's just little things like that, so right? And it's easy. The flesh is weak. We get caught up in it. But man, it's just so powerful to just connect with others who have a heart to serve, and they just want to get out and make a real difference, aligned with proven, strongly vetted organizations that we know are being good stewards of our generosity.
Well, that's awesome. So not only are you going to be propping up a lot of other great organizations that are already serving these communities on the ground, but I know when people make a donation to you, when they go to your Dreamscape and make a donation, you will also follow up with them and give them some information on how they can participate and see what's going on, so they could even be part of maybe seeing their dollars on the ground if they wanted to take that next
Oh,
step. So that's awesome.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's cool. So let's talk about how we got together in this situation. What led you to Follow Funding? I know we've been trying to kind of synergize over the years, but what was that aha moment that made you say, Follow Funding is the thing I should be doing to help further my mission?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I found throughout life, you just have to walk by faith, not always by sight. I had this big God-sized dream. My wife and I put a lot of our resources and savings and wealth into it to stay faithful to that dream. And it's amazing when you walk by faith, the right people start showing up at the right time. You're definitely one of those people, man. And like I said, alluded to earlier, I always knew that the timing would be right where you and I could, put our gifts together and make a real difference. But specifically with Follow Funding, it's interesting because here we are sending more and more people out into the world, giving more and more to other charitable organizations. And the corporate team and myself got together and say, hey, what are some other ways to get the message out? How can we, attract more people or expose more people? And we actually looked in to crowdfunding. All the big players. We looked into it and studied it and said, well, this could be a viable option. But as we really started peeling back the layers of that, we're going to have to budget a whole nother huge chunk of money with a marketing team that's specialized in the crowdfunding space. I mean, just before you took one single donation, you'd be out a ton of money. And then there was some ongoing commitments. And, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the nature of the beast because crowdfunding is growing, exponentially. But you definitely had to spend some revenue up front just to kind of master that giant. And what I love with Follow Funding, it's so near and dear to what we're about. It's about relationships. And if I could just touch on that word, what I found in life is the greatest asset you will have is in the relationships with other quality, high character, like-minded people. And kudos to you, man. I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I see opportunities every single day. I look at them with an open mind. I say no to most of them, the majority. But it's because of who you are, Eric. I mean, that's the first reason when you said, hey, I have this 8-minute video, I need you to watch it. This is going to be like my legacy, my dream, everything's come to this. That's what got me excited. I pretty much knew I was going to support you in whatever way that could benefit you. But when I saw it, I said, this is just almost divine intervention, because here's a way to use the power of relationships and harnessing the power of having an abundance mentality and supporting other people's dreams to manifest your own. And it's absolutely brilliant. I thought for sure, it's like, all right, Eric's a pretty sharp guy, but I'm sure I would have seen something similar to this when he sends me this video. It'll be some, another great idea, but so unique.
Yeah.
That you weren't kidding. You're like, Eric, trust me, you would never see anything like this. I'm like, all right, buddy, that sounds like marketing stuff. But I'll tell you what, man, I can see why your heart and you're fully invested on fire with this as well, because it's at the core of what we're both about, right? Helping other people unlock their goals and dreams and living a life of purpose.
Absolutely. And I want to kind of rewind the tape a bit and go back to when you were talking about thinking about crowdfunding for your Global Gamechangers, what you already had going on, and thinking about all of the things that happen. I want you guys to think about this. It's a huge industry, marketing for crowdfunding. People think, oh, I can just slap up a campaign on GoFundMe or Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever, and it's just going to be successful because the crowd's just going to throw money at me. It doesn't work that way. On those campaigns, sure, you might get a little bit of inertia in the beginning, your email list or your social media engagement, but pretty soon you find yourself in that valley, where I call it the valley of death, where you've got a little activity and then you're down in this kind of gully, and you don't start to get some activity until you make it more toward your goal because people want to back winners. So you kind of this reverse bell curve process. But, the reality is most people fail in that valley because they can't afford the marketing the vast amount of marketing it takes to push people through that process. And, that's really the problem that was the catalyst for this in the first place. So, it was crazy when I saw your vision and what you're doing with Global Game Changers. It was almost as if your video, and I know everybody's going to get to see a cool video from you if they go check out your Dreamscape. It's almost like that was almost a perfect advertisement, if you will, for FollowFunding. I mean, they're almost synonymous in what they're trying to do. So we're so in line. It is divine intervention. I mean, there's no other way of looking at it. So that's why we wanted to feature you here on the Manifesting Dreams podcast, and just so excited to have you here, buddy. It's been awesome. So we know we're going to be using the funds that come in to support Global Game Changers and to help with those 4 pillars. Is there any closing remarks you want to make here before we wrap up the podcast? Just telling people about your vision, your mission, what it is you want to do here.
Yeah, well, I think our vision and overall mission with Global Game Changers is probably not too indifferent from everybody else who's going to eventually participate in FollowFunding. We all have these goals and dreams in our heart. FollowFunding is going to continue to attract people that haven't completely given up on those. Okay, to kind of dust off some of those dreams, those ambitions that we all have when we grow up. And, sometimes life beats us down pretty good. I think we've all been there. And, there's a lot of people that are on the verge of giving up. But man, when they can see other people on fire, living their dreams, knowing that we're going to do this together by supporting each other, that's liberating, man. And, there's so many paradigm shifts going on right now, Eric, with, the advances in technology, artificial intelligence. The world's changing so quickly. All the sectors, all the verticals are changing so radically, in our lives. And, there's 2 options. You can get ran over by it. I mean, some of the statistics are kind of scary. What's going to happen with a lot of the traditional type careers or employment out there, or you can embrace it and say, here's a chance where the trend can be my friend, and I can work with other positive, proactive people, and we can invest in each other, and we can put away the scarcity mentality nonsense that cripples so many people, and truly create this global force for good. That's what I see FollowFunding doing, because right now the world needs more and more people living a life on purpose, who are on fire to get out of bed in the morning and do something that they're passionate about and that most likely is going to benefit somebody else's life. So together, man, I'm just so excited, man. As you can tell, I don't want to beat that word over and over, but there's another way to describe it.
Well, absolutely.
Maybe let's just get out and have a lot of fun, bless a lot of people together, brother. Thank you.
Awesome. So the whole point of this podcast is to help you guys discover great causes, great things that are happening within the FollowFunding community. Obviously, Global Game Changers is one of those. So check out Eric's Dreamscape. Go to followfunding.com/global game changers. Check it out. Remember, helping you through that valley of death of this whole crowdfunding space are those connections. There's a video on there that's going to break that down and help you understand how FollowFunding is going to help you through connections, help push you through that process towards your dreams. Eric, it was a pleasure having you on our podcast today. And those listening, we'll see you on our next podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on Manifesting Dreams. Bye for now, guys.
All right.